All right. Hello, everybody. Or one person. Welcome to Leader Versus, and I've decided to do something a little different this time. Instead of doing the standard synthesizer stuff, I've decided I'm going to go ahead and bust out some drum machines. Let's make a beat. I just did a video with this guy just recently, kind of more like an acid kind of house thing going on, and it was a lot of fun. So I purchased this thing a while ago, and honestly, it's kind of sat collecting dust. Basically, got made an offer I couldn't refuse. It was a very low price. Korg, their outlet, was selling them for very cheap, and I was like, and I bought it. And then I subsequently shelved it for, God, almost a year. So anyway, I decided to bust it out, and I am really happy I did because it is a fun little box. I I I'm I would be hesitant to call it a groove machine or a groove box because, and they don't. They call it a drum machine, but it does have some groove machine possibilities. If you saw the video I released just a little while ago, you can see it can pull almost a whole song out of it. But mainly, it is for drums, and for that, it does a pretty good job. And I say good, not great, because there are some legitimate gripes about it. But let's just talk about it. So it is a hybrid synthesizer, meaning you do have some analog voices like your kick, your snare, and your toms. Then you have some digital stuff and some samples. And then you also have, in addition to the digital stuff, you really have these awesome little slots that they call the SDK, the Drumlogue SDK. And here you can add some third party or even make your own custom little oscillators, sort of like synth setups, some effects even in the effects slots. So it's got a lot of potential, but unfortunately, it seems like it kind of died before it really got its full, its full respect due. The reason I believe is because when this came out, they wanted, I believe, like $600 or $700 for it. I pre-ordered for it because I was excited about it, and I am very partial to drum machines. However, it got delayed for a while, so much so that I pulled my pre-order and I actually invested in something else that was very cool called the Osmos, which I should definitely bust out at some point. But like I was saying before, it's like $600 or something like that. It could have been a little cheaper. No, I think it was like $599. And had I got this thing at $599, I have to admit I'd be a little disappointed. The main reason I would say that is because, well, let's start off some of the cons. But the big one is the sample storage. It's very small. I think it's like 32 megabytes. Crazy small in the year 20. I think this came out in 2023, 24. So that is very small. And even with just doing one shots, you can get a fair amount in there, but not like a good large library to pull from. So that was the big thing that kind of crushed the Korg Drumlogue's future potential. I don't know why they did that. Memory's kind of cheap. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear. There's some murmurings, online, but you never know what's true and what's not. The other issues you have with it, it's not a very powerful machine, and what I mean by that is, again, when I reference the song I just recently put out, I did try to push it and use it as a groove machine, or a groove box, and so therefore I had some sample sounds going on. Was using one of the digital machines over here to kind of do some chords, and then some acid kind of drum bass stuff. And I definitely noticed when I was jamming and really starting to try to do some performance stuff, it was harshing out, and I mean like CPU like kind of grinding and stuff. So there's definitely a limit on this thing, and it's, for me it wasn't too hard to reach. You do have to reach for it, but it wasn't too hard. And so I really truly believe this is a fantastic drum machine, but I think it's a weak-ish groove box. Still fun, still great, still awesome, still deserves a lot of praise, but maybe not quite what I thought it was going to be more of. With that said, I did get, like I mentioned, a really good deal, and I decided to bring it on there. So I'm actually the one thing I'm kind of struggling right now is trying to figure out what to pair this with. I love to make boxes where I permanently, or at least semi-permanently, install boxes together, so I don't have to cable them together and do all this stuff. And it kind of becomes like, okay, this is the ecosystem I'm working in. I've got a really fun box that's got my Dark Trinity Electron boxes. That's the Octatrack and the analog rhythm, and then a bunch of little stuff all together with that. And then I've got another fun one that has the Digitone 1 and the Digitac 2 and a Jawmox M11, Jawmox, something. And I'm currently building another that's going to be with my Electron motorcycles and the Evoke from Sonicware box. So point being, I'm still trying to figure out what to pair with this thing. It is pretty cool though. I have to say, it's got its own sound. It doesn't sound like a 909, doesn't sound like an 808, which, you know, a lot of drum machines are going to try to, you know, pigeonhole those sounds a little bit. It's got its own sound. And for better or worse, you might like it, you might not, but it is fairly limited when it comes to those analog engines. So you don't really have a whole lot of room to really go crazy with the sound design, in my opinion. But you do get some added extra features that are actually from the digital side. Like I think you can add like some transients and stuff like that to kind of punch up the sounds. And again, that's small sample storage. So for the time being, I haven't put any new samples on here. I'm just trying to squeeze what I can out of it. I think I have to really plan ahead, because once those samples go in there and I start using them, you know, they're stuck in there until you want to wipe it and start again, because you're going to use up that 34, 32 megabytes pretty quickly. And I think I'm right about this. I honestly hope I'm not, but I think the Drumlogue SDKs go into that sample memory. I think they would have to. So that's another way you eat up that space pretty quick. So you might not even get that many samples, because say you got 5 or 6 machines in there, and I think I've downloaded them, and I haven't installed them yet, but I'm curious now to think, man, that's probably going to eat up all that space too. So it'll be a fight between samples and the little machines that go in there. So, okay, with that said, brief overview, you do get up to 64 steps, so 16, and you get up to 4 of those. That's indicated by this little area here. It does start off as just 16, and you can, what they call, expand or shrink it. From there, you can do some what they call motion recording. This is unlike motion recording I've seen in different Korg units. This is actual more like parameter locking Electron style. A little different, but the end result is basically the same. You can hold down a particular note and you can adjust the parameter value for that particular note. Again, you do, because like I mentioned earlier, once you start getting a little wild with that, you start adding like 6 or 7 of those on each track, you start hitting that CPU limit. So again, sparing. If I were to just treat this as a drum machine, I'd probably only be doing that maybe on the hats and the snares, and then maybe on the samples to get some different samples going on the tracks, because you can do that also. It's not the same as Electron sound locks, but you can swap out, say, the sample in a motion lock parameter step. So that is also very cool. So you get a few other things. You do have an accent and a step pattern edit area. So step is your traditional. Accent's going to let you go ahead and control the accent for each one of those steps a little bit different. So that's nice. Can be a little bit confusing at times, but once you get the hang of it and start getting used to it, it does start to make sense. Over here you have your live, chain, and loop. Live is just live. You're playing. It's whatever's programmed in here, and if you want to tweak knobs, it's going to obviously respond like normal. Chain is how you actually chain these different, so for example, each bank, so you have 16 banks, and each bank has 16, what do they call them in here, patterns. So if you want to chain those patterns together, you can then start build them up, and I think I feel like you get 64 or maybe 32 chain slots. I can't remember. It's a decent amount. So there's one other thing that I want to mention real quick that's kind of a bummer about this is, and this is probably something they would have addressed in future updates had the Drumlogue been selling, but basically you can create these complex chains to a degree, which is nice, but you also get something else in this, which is excuse me, you also get percentage, but also not percentage. What do they call it? Geez, I'm blanking on it. So basically you can set, like you can an Electron, an A versus B, or no, that's not right. It's different than this. You can say that, okay, so let's say you've got a 16 bar going and you have a snare and you want that snare to hit on 5 and 13 every time, but say maybe the last one you don't want it to hit after 4 times. So saying the pattern goes through 4 times, it's hitting 513, 513, 513, 513, 5, and then it skips that 13. So probability, that's the word I'm looking for. But they did it a little bit differently, which actually is not bad. It's actually quite cool in the way you can control it and visualize it. I like Electrons a little bit better, but it's not like this is worse. It's just different. but they didn't take into account that with the chains. So when you create a chain and you have something happening according to a probability state, it doesn't properly function. I don't know. It's like you would expect something to play 4 bars, go to the next pattern, and then do something, and then maybe, well, that's a bad example. Here's a better example. So if I wanted to play a pattern twice and extend the amount of times that you're going to hear the pattern, and therefore you could effectively get the probability in a different way. So say if I had, well, let's say I had 4 bars, so I maxed out the overall length, 4 bars, 64 steps, and on the 62nd step, or wherever, it doesn't matter, say the first step, you set it so that it doesn't play but every other time. Well, when you do the chain pattern, it's going to go through those 64 steps, and if you say, well, play that pattern again, it's going to treat it like you started the pattern over, and therefore the probability that you said play the 64 steps in that note on, say, the second step, it comes around, and the second time it comes around, it's not going to play, will not properly function. So it's just, it didn't get figured out in the wash, unfortunately. So if you use the chain, you kind of ruin your probability if you're using certain probabilities, I would say, but they're there for a reason. They let you extend the pattern. That's how I use them, at least. So, for example, a crash, you only want that crash to happen the first time, and then you're going to maybe have that pattern play 4 or 5 times. If you chain those patterns together and using the chain unit, that crash is going to hit at every start of the pattern. Not ideal. Kind of sucks, actually. But anyways, so that's live. That was chain. Loop is interesting. You might have seen me what I did at the end there. So loop, it's just kind of basically your retrigging or beat. What do they call that in Ableton? Beats something. It's the glitchy kind of thing going on. Retrig is what you usually see it called a lot of times. But it's also a little bit weird. I find it kind of novel, but not really great to really perform with all the time. So anyways, we'll mess with that too. From there, you have obviously have your play button, which can be a pause, which allows you to restart the pattern in where you left off, versus if you just hit play. It's going to play it every time at the beginning. You pause it. Pause it again. Oh. I don't know, it's not working for me. Pause. Oh, you gotta hold the shift down the whole time. Okay. So then you also get your record button. This is going to let you do some live recording if you just want to play drums. So if I went back to live mode, you can record that way, or it's also how you record your motion recording. There's some interesting quirks about that too, which I think is kind of different, but I think you can set some settings to change it. But effectively, you record 1 bar of motion recording, and say it starts back at the beginning, it turns off the recording. So I think you can change that, but that's how I have it for now, which can be a little bit of a letdown because as you go in to build things, you realize, oh, we got to hit record again. So I'll look more into that and maybe change that, but we'll see. You also have everything's broken across 2 main categories or main systems, if you will. You have your program, which encompasses your pattern data and all that kind of stuff. And you have your kit, which encompasses your sounds and all the parameters you've set for those sounds. You can use these individually, which is actually pretty cool and allows for some fun performance stuff. So for example, if you were playing around with the program and we're in program 2, it's pretty loud. Let's turn it down just a little bit. What's it saying? Oh yeah. So we are in program 2 and we want to say, try a different kit. Pattern, different kit. I can return. So the general idea is that patterns and kits are separate, which allows you to, for example, you can like really destroy the pattern by adding a bunch of stuff, recording all that stuff. As long as you don't save it and you hit and reselect that pattern again, it'll revert back. So that gives you some fun kind of performance stuff. It's even more fun, in my opinion, with the kit because same idea. You can mess with the kit a little bit. There. Change all the sounds a little bit. that's some fun performance stuff too. So that kind of wraps most of it up in the over kind of view. You obviously have a bunch of other things that are going on here that I haven't gotten to. For example, time and groove, and then you also have your part controller. You have the ability to mute. Let's see, and then of course you have parameters for every one of these. These are just kind of hot controls, quick stuff. God, I wish they would have let you set these yourself. If I could have used these, 15 knobs right here to control parameters that I wanted to set, holy cow, this thing would have been so much cooler. And actually it's more than that, because you can shift most of these, and if they were, programmable for yourself, you could probably use shift for all of them, which would give you 30 knobs to control while performing, but you don't get that, so sorry. What you do is you get some basic stuff for each, most of these guys. So for example, you're not going to see the VPM, which is one of the sounds, noise, or the user slots. Those don't exist up here. You don't get any control. So I actually considered setting up a MIDI controller for it eventually, but I haven't done that yet to see what it would be like to control some of the parameters for those 3 machines, while playing, but I haven't gotten there yet. So with that said, you do get some basic controls here. Some of them are shift. It's kind of hard, I will say, the lettering on the visual capabilities of this when it comes to like reading some of this stuff. Not great, especially when you go into a different mode and it might make it disappear. Like right now, loop mode, I can't see any of that stuff. Live, it does. Yeah, some interesting UI choices. Some of them I don't really like. Some of them are fine. Lastly, you do get your row up here, which controls your volume. So that is really nice. You get some instant access to your volume knobs. These are, I believe, more like an analog pot. Like you can't swap what they do or anything, but it would have been kind of neat if you could hold shift and change it to pan. I don't know, but whatever. It is what it is. And it does have a really cool feature that I wish every synthesizer had when it came out, and that's the ability to have a host port for your USB. So I do have a Launchpad, the new XL3 one, and that is probably what I'm going to plug in directly via USB, which is nice. Won't even have to deal with the MIDI connections. And I'm going to see if I can control that stuff that I had mentioned earlier with that and just kind of make it more performance friendly. But like I mentioned before, the CPU is not very strong, so I'm a little worried that as I try to do multiple things, it's going to seize up, because kind of doing that a little bit with just the internal controls. So there's a little bit more involved, but that's essentially it. When you get to the parts themselves, come over here, let's say bass drum. You can see we don't get a whole lot. You can adjust the transient, which is nice. You get 16 transients. You get sweep time, hold, attack, cut off, resonance. So you get a filter in each one. I don't know if they're analog filters. That'd be interesting. I should look. And then you get your standard stuff, pan and stuff. You also do have a few effects. So you do have delay and reverb on a send, and then you do have a master slot. We'll get to those eventually too. So with that said, let's go ahead and start building a track. I think I emptied this one already. Doing that, I'm going to go ahead and save this to number 2. Sure we got nothing there. Okay. So I will say overall, I do like this drum machine. It is fun, but it's going to be a great drum machine by pairing it with something else. It's kind of like I mentioned before. It doesn't have everything in there to make it a solo standing instrument. All right, let's go ahead and do some step stuff here first. So actually had somebody ask me to look at psytrance as something to do with that in terms of like creating a song or messing around with some patterns. So I'm going to pull up real quick basic psytrance pattern. I think it's in the 138 or 140 BPM. So let me see if I can even find that groove. Boom, 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 boom. Man, see these things down here? You also get a bunch of, if you hold the shift knob, you get a bunch of options here. They're almost like cherry-picked processes. Like you can mess with copying a pattern, random pattern, clear a part. You can't copy it and paste a part. You can't do some random stuff. It's kind of strange. This one's for the motion recording from here to here, and this is for a kit. You do have a choke feature, which is nice. So if you got your hi-hats, you want to choke them out with the if you want the the open hat and the closed hat, which are 2 different options here to play off each other, so you don't have them both sound at the same time. You can use a choke group, which I think you have 4 of those. Let's see. What am I even trying to do? I'm trying to increase the tempo, and you can already see, like, oh yeah, here it is. It's got its own dedicated thing. This can be a little of a bit of a struggle too, because you can't fine tune that tempo. You just kind of have to go with it, and it's about 0.5 increments. Let's just try I saw something earlier. I know you guys can't see what I'm seeing, but side trance guide. 138 to 144 standard side trance. Okay. Well, we're not really making side trance, so don't hold it against me. We're going to try and make something in that kind of vein. Let's go with 142. So, oh, lucky. All right, so let's record. We're going to go to step mode. Boom. We're going to just do the 4 on the floor to start off with. Give something nice and with a big amount of oomph to it. Okay. Tune was pretty good where it was. A little bit of drive. So those are our first immediate access parameters. Let's see what else we got. Not much, but we got something else here. So sweep time. You know what? I just realized I should mention this. Yeah. So if it's on here, I think it's not in here, which is interesting because usually all the parameters will be inside the machine, if you will, in the menus. But it's a weird choice. So yes, if you want, for example, the decay for the hi-hats, the closed hi-hats, you have to affect it from this knob. You have no choice anywhere else, as far as I know, unless you have an external MIDI controller. You can probably program it, but between this and the screen, that's where it's at. So, kind of strange, but okay. Let's see what our sweep time. On a short sweep time. Bring the decay down a little bit. Feel like that. Let's see if I can find this. Oh, let's change the attack. Light boxed attack. I think that's a good sound. I feel like the tone. Like, oh, hold. That'll be the drive. Okay, not bad. Let's keep going. Alright, so if I hold the part button down, that gives me access to change into different parts, but it doesn't turn off the lights, so I'm going to get out of step when I go live, because just so I don't get confused. That's the thing, you really got to pay attention to where you are in here. Even when holding another button doesn't necessarily mean you're out of whatever area you were, but it might. So here, this is where it gets a little confusing. If I hold step, hit part, I am switching parts. If I let go part, then I'm adding sounds. You just got to be careful, because if you have a program or a pattern you really like, you can kind of easily destroy it. So just pay attention. Okay, let's go back to live mode. No, stay in step mode. I might add some more little ghost notes in here. So snare drum. Make sure we're on the right part. Yes. Kind of like there we go. So this is the body of the drum. Snappy, you can hear, is basically, if you ever seen a real snare drum, they have this, I wish I knew what it was called, but it's basically like this. It's what gives you the it's got this like material, if you will, like a band of little metal string and whatever, shaker sound underneath, and you can tighten it, loosen it, and kind of adjust. Obviously you're getting a little bit more control you probably get in the real world, but that's like really loose. That's obviously so tight you don't even hear it. Not too bad. What other parameters do we have? So we actually do have this little snappy type. So this is kind of a little preset for the snap. pink noise and blue noise, but not really. Ooh, a little lo-fi action. I liked mine model the best. Yeah, almost a clap. We do have a clap model on here too. Okay. I think we got to tighten up that bass drum a little bit. Cool. Very basic, but we're going to switch over now. We're going to bring in the user mode here. Make sure we have what we need. Oh, I forgot I did add some of the machines in there, the user stuff. So maybe we can mess with that, but first let's try with the Nano. Okay. So I just listened to Psytrance knowing that, I've heard Psytrance before, but knowing that I was listening to Psytrance like 2 hours ago. And from my understanding, it seems like there's always like kind of a bass sound that's hitting like kind of almost on the E of a 1E-anda. I could be wrong, but let's listen. Maybe it was on the off beats. Okay. It sounds like a little fart. Maybe we can get something sounding better than that, huh? Let's see if we get... Now with these guys, you get a lot of parameters, which is nice. Need something that kind of increase the length of those. EG time? No, that's just for the little, this is like an acid machine. This is called Nano. This one actually came with it. I think it was built by Sonic Vibes or something like that. Something. So it was kind of a free synth that came out with this guy. Kind of highlight the idea of what the Logue SDK could be. There we go. Okay, not really what I'm liking so far, but let's hear. Okay. A little better. Okay, let's get some filter going. Almost seems like my groove is off or something. What is going on here? Maybe I had something off. No, triplets off. That's down too. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Resonance. So this is a bit of a gripe on this particular machine. I don't know why, but a lot of the LFOs, even on the machine in general, don't. They all sync to the hit. You can't change it, at least not from what I've seen. Real bummer for sound design because, I like to make things feel a little bit more alive, and I might set an LFO to kind of just like slowly move around a parameter a little bit just to kind of make it breathe. You can't do that because every time this hits, it's going to reset it. It kind of kills the fun. You can do a sample and hold, which then will give you some motion. But by the nature of sample and hold and random, it's random. It's not like I can't build something exactly the way I want it using an LFO here unless I expect it to reset every time. Bit of a bummer, but that's more of maybe my style of making stuff. Alright. I highly doubt this is Psytrance, but it's not something I normally make, so it's at least that's going on. Let's try another part. Let's do our closed hats. Well, we just go ahead and widen these guys right out. Whoop, didn't get it all. Take the 5 and 13 on. That is some machine guns, so that sounds kind of awful to me. So let's go ahead and mess with this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and leave the 5 and the 13 in there because it sounded like it was really dropping out. Maybe when we have more stuff going on, I can drop them out and make it sound more natural. Okay, so we have 16 steps. You can see they're just machine gunning away. Sounds pretty awful to me. That's my personal taste, though, as I definitely don't like hi-hats that are just the same every time. Maybe we should try a little bit before I get too crazy with designs and hi-hats. Let me just try and mellow these out. Maybe I won't be so against them. We do have, this is a sample. So we do have samples we can choose from, so that's nice. Well, that's already, right there is even easier to listen to. Also easier? Oh, not that sure. Okay, I can deal with that. So, here's where we can mess with the accent. So let's start with that first. I like to have an accent increased every, cha, cha. So 7, 11, 15. Yeah, you can hear it's kind of rising on those ands. 1 and 3 and. That's kind of nice. All right, now we're gonna go with the motion. So as I mentioned before, this is Korg's version of what I would say fairly closely, Electron's parameter locks. Not nearly as robust, I have to admit. It's not, but still pretty capable. And like I said, if we treat this just as a drum machine, I think it does a pretty good job. So what we can do is we can actually go and we can program per step, or we can record live. When I hear Korg motion recording, that's where my brain goes, because most of the Korgs I've come across that have motion recording is the idea that you're recording live movements. They did let you do that here, but even better, in my opinion, is you can come through and you can do each step. This is where it gets a little tricky. I wish they had thought of a different way to do it, more kind of like Electron. The motion and the steps per step are separate entries. So you could literally set motion control for a step that's not doing anything. That might be handy, I guess, if you were doing a sound that maybe goes beyond one step. Maybe it sounds like 4 steps long, like one single sound stretches that long, and then you can use motion recording as the sound goes across those 4 steps to change it, which is pretty cool. But it can be a little confusing when you're building or erasing. Like if you change your mind, you might be like, oh, what is going on here? Because then you have to realize you have to go to step, make your change, and then you have to go to motion to make your change, and possibly even accent if you've changed that. So you do have 3 areas that all combine to make one single sound or whatever happen. So if we go back here, you can see there's nothing here, and you're like, whoa, where'd all my steps go? Well, they exist on the step lane. The motion lane's a little different. So let's go ahead and hold this here. We'll go and find one of these guys. We don't have a whole lot. You know what we could do? Let's just try changing the sample. So I'm gonna hold this down and I'm gonna change. And you can see what it's telling me is I have something on step 2, and that little bar there is increasing, while I'm also getting information here that's telling me the amount of the increase, 0 to 16. It's telling me what I'm doing. It doesn't actually tell me the sample I'm changing to. It doesn't tell me even when I'm changing the parameter, what parameter I'm affecting always. It's just giving you a number. You gotta remember. So I have no idea what sample this is, but we could potentially find out. The other thing I don't know, I'm assuming it's not additive. And what I mean by that is right now we're on sample 3. So if I'm holding this down, and if I have it on sample 3, let's listen. Yeah. Not changing it, so it's not additive, which is good. It's less confusing. So what this means is this is set for sample 3, the track is, and then when I hold this down and do this, if I set it for 3, then it's just using the same sound. So let's say if I wanted to go back to 1. Hear that? That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna go here to 8 and 9 and do the same thing. I don't know if I can do 2 at the same time. That's nice. Actually going to go ahead and erase this one. So here's something interesting. You can't just push it and erase it. You could do that for a step. Look at this. Gone. Back. The motion. Why? I don't know. Maybe they're helping you out because it's so easy to go back and forth. The step is just a step, and this has got a lot more information in it. So maybe it's actually good. I'm going to change my tune on that. It's actually kind of good. But it's a little confusing. So anyways, if you go here and you want to get rid of that guy, you have to go to the motion section. Yeah, you guys can see that. Motion right here. and then clear step. Hold shift, clear step, and then come over, and now you can push it. And then to get out of that, you have to hit shift again. Now you are back. Now let's hear it. Should be gone. Cool. All right, I'm going to come to this one, and I'm going to set this one for 1. So cool. I mean, that's pretty fun. I have to admit, like, you don't get a whole lot of things to change per track, if you will. You definitely get them more in the user slots, which, like, for example, that Nano had, like, I don't know, 12 or 13 parameters. When it comes to, like, the hi-hat samples, you don't get a whole lot. But it's still pretty cool that you get anything and you can do this. So that is nice. And again, for a drum machine, probably enough. All right, what else can we add in there? Why don't we, oops, yeah, I gotta go back, go to live. I'm gonna do a little bit of rim shot here. Let's live record this. Cool. I believe it is always doing, oh, I forgot there's one more thing that's really nice. So let's come here and look at the step for that. So these are where these guys are. You can actually offset it, which is very nice. So you do not have to just program right on the grid. Obviously, you'll put the numbers, the trigs on the grid. I call them trigs because I'm an electron guy. So that's, you're probably going to hear me say that. Steps, I guess, would be the accurate, terminology for this one. But we'll call them trigs because I like that. So you can come over here and you can actually adjust. Let's hear it sounds a little bit early. So when you start getting into more like sloppy, lo-fi kind of grooves, that is indispensable. That is basically the only way you'd be able to make that kind of stuff, unless I guess maybe some really extreme swing and stuff like that. But this gives you a whole lot more possibility in terms of designing the pattern and the way syncopation is and all that kind of stuff. So very thankful they added that. Let's see what we got next. Whoops. Live. What is this? Well, this is a sample, perk plock. So you do get a decent amount of samples. You can see they're categorized right here. So we got our closed hat, we got our open hat, rim shots, you got your clap. So actually all of these, yeah, they actually tell you right here digital. So from here to here are your digital slots. I should check. Let me see this real quick. Can I put I can. That's okay. That's nice. So any of these are just labels for what they just kind of put in their standard. But anything between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 slots right here, these parts they call them, can be any digital sound. So any sample. That's nice. I thought they were focused for some reason, but that is nice. So you could have all open hi-hats if you wanted, or all volume swells or whatever. Of course, 32 megabytes, so you're not gonna have a whole lot, but you're gonna have some, and that's cool. All right, let's see what we're doing. We're doing the clap now. Let's do this guy. Let's see what we got here. So perk handrail. I'm just gonna go through and just hear. What kind of things can we do with that? You do have one other thing I want to mention real quick, and you do have the capacity to change each step's length. I'm sorry, not each step, each part. You can have polyrhythms going on. So basically we could have 64 steps of a kick, maybe 28 steps of a snare. That wouldn't make any sense though, because it's still multiple 4, but just, roll with me here. You could do 15 steps of a hi-hat. So maybe you're changing the accent every other time. You could mix it up any way you want, really. It's a little complicated, if I remember, to make this happen. No, I think the thing is, so you can, when you have polyrhythms, you have to decide. Thankfully, they give you this option, and Electron does it too, which is great. You have to decide when to have those polyrhythms sync up. So for example, you could have them never sync up, and so basically the entire pattern, they're just kind of doing their own thing. They're all staying in time, if you will, but they're all playing to a different amount of time, or stepwise. Now you can set it up so that basically after so many bars, it will start all of the parts over at, say, step 1. I can't remember exactly how much control you get into this, but I think it's fairly limited. I think it's basically you can turn it on or off. So it's either going to sync after the full 64 steps, restart everything, so every single part, no matter where it was previous, will start back on 1 again, or you can turn it off so that they're free. I think that's it. Kind of a bummer. But it is what it is. So how do I do that, though? That's the question, huh? Don't recall. Groove. Maybe it's... Oh, it's part and groove. That's right. That's the one they didn't... I wish they'd listed on here. So if you hold part and you hit time, and you keep holding time, you can change the length of each step. So for example, let's hear. You can hear where that's happening every time. What if I do this, and I do 15? Nothing changed. And that's probably because I have it set to... Is it sync? Let's see. No, poly. So I think I have to be on the part I want, which is this one right here. I have to hold shift and I have to hit this button right here. Yeah, you can see that poly. I can see it better in the screen than I can see with my own eyes. So it says poly on off for parts. Well, I don't know. Which one is it? Poly. Okay, poly off. No, we have poly on. Okay. It's telling me these three, this multi-engine as it's called, is one. It's just one track. That's all it is. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to split it off this way. I feel like they could have made better use of these buttons, but you can choose one of them. So I guess in the middle of a song, it kind of be kind of fun to switch from the VPM and to the noise machine to a user machine first, while you're messing about. I don't think you can like motion record it, but I think you can just do it live. Could be cool once in a while, I guess, but still seems kind of like a waste of buttons. But let's hear. Still doing the same thing. Let's try it again. Man, I don't know. Kind of a bummer. Why is that not going? Length 15 should be doing it. Let's try something more drastic. Man, see, this is where it gets a little confusing. So how about poly off? See, it's restarting. Then you think if I do poly on. Oh, is there any other thing I'm missing? Sync, maybe the sync? Pattern, synced. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out later. It is confusing. It's confusing. It's honestly a pretty poor implementation. It kind of makes me a little frustrated that I can't just figure this out because it should be pretty simple. I mean, what do you give me the option of poly for and turn it on and off if it's not actually doing it? So something else must be preventing it from changing. I don't know. I know it's there. I've seen people use it in videos, so I know it's possible. I swear I used it before, but apparently I've forgotten how to do it. But it's in there, I think. All right. Let's just stop talking about this thing and let's just start making some music. So, all right, we've got this going on so far. I don't know. That's okay. Maybe we can come here and give this guy a little bit more. I think I need to motion control this thing here. That's starting to bother me a little bit. Maybe I can mess around a little bit here. Oh yeah, for example, this is kind of annoying because I want to like be able to control the pitch, but I realize, oh, I have to do it from over here. So SP1. I'm going to do something real quick. So if I hold shift, this is kind of an interesting thing. So it does have the ability to basically increase, like I mentioned before, up to 64 steps. The very first time that you do this, I believe it's the one and only time per a new pattern, it will copy everything over and basically extend. So if you have 16 steps, it's going to take that and turn it to 32, 48, and then 64, and basically copy each one over. Only going to do that the first time. So from my experience, what you want to do is you really want to kind of really design your first 16 parts of that pattern to a point where you're like, okay, made the most of that to the extent that I can, and now I'm going to do it. Honestly, I'd probably wait to do it, but since we're just kind of messing about, I'm going to go ahead and do it now. So if I hold shift like this, you can see it went from 1 to heading 4. So this is now the top one tells me how many bars I have. The bottom one tells me, of these rows of LEDs here, the red lights, the bottom one tells me what bar I'm currently on. So obviously you can see I'm on bar 1, but watch. So I guess I should rephrase this, because you can see it's blinking lights up here. It's only telling me this when I'm in step or record mode. I guess live too, but really, or any of these really, it just tells you basically what page you're editing. When you're playing, it just does it lit up. Cool. All right. Wait a minute. What happened there? Look at that. That's interesting. Yeah, the poly won't let me go beyond that because I changed the amount here. I wonder if I can change this. Nope, wrong one. Yeah, it did 48. Interesting. Even though I had it at 15, you think it'd be at 45. Just go ahead and increase it all the way up to 64. Now it should go all the way to the end. Nothing there, because when I copied it, it only copied over. For this particular one, I shortened it, so it only copied so many steps. So let's see, what do I have? I have 5, 8, 14, so 5, 8. Okay. All right, let's go back for just a second here. Each part, and let's space things out a little bit. Everything's just sitting in the center pan right now. Adds over to about 15. One other thing I want to mention about the separation between the program and the kits, and this is how it is done in the older Electron, well, I guess the newer one too, the rhythm. And it's interesting because I fought it for a while, and then I got really used to it and loved it, and then the Digitac and the Digitone, Syntac and Digitone 2 went away with it, but it's the concept of keeping those separate. So in the newer Electron boxes, your pattern contains everything. So if you copy a pattern over, you're copying all the information. But if you save that pattern, then you can manipulate that pattern separately and everything is affected. So say pattern 1, you have a nice tight snare. Pattern 2, you open the snare up. Those two patterns now have different sounding snares permanently, like if you save them. What this does, and what the older Electron boxes do, which is, it takes a minute, but once you wrap your head around it, I think it's actually quite amazing. It uses the kits separately, right? So you can basically create an entire song, tons of different stuff in each pattern, but you basically keep the same exact kit. So if you're kind of going for that like natural acoustic sounding drum thing, that's a good thing, because then you're like, oh, well, cool, I can program this, and yes, it'll affect things, and the parameter locks will open things up. It's always going to be the same sound. And what really comes in handy is when you go later back and you're mixing and you're changing things, and you're like, I feel like, oh, I didn't take enough of the low frequency, the bass out. Okay, well, I can adjust that, and it's going to go across all the patterns because it's using the same kit. Where if you do that on Digitone 2 or one of the, the Digitact or any of those, Syntac, you got to go and change them all. It sucks. So if you have done that, you get whole song together and then you listen to it on like maybe in your car to get something different. You're like, oh God, the bass is just way too much. I got to go back and fix that. Got to fix them for every one. So it sucks. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But the benefit also is that when you're building stuff and you make changes, you don't accidentally save those changes over your kit, and those become the permanent sound. Like the example I said a moment ago with pattern 1 and pattern 2, if you have pattern 1 and pattern 2 with different drum kits, you can change them all day long and save them, and they'll just save to those respective patterns. If you have the same kit and you're on pattern 1, you got a nice tight driving snare, and you're like, all right, for this next part, say the chorus, I'm going to open the snare up a little bit, and you open it up and you save it, and then you go back and play pattern 1, and you're like, oh shit, the pattern, shouldn't swear, sorry. The snare is also wide open on that one. So anyway, they have their benefits and they have their weaknesses, but I actually prefer the concept of keeping the kit separate from the pattern because it makes it a lot easier when it comes to finishing the song, which I think I speak for almost every musician. That is the hardest part about making music. I have hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 songs that I would say are between 50 and 80% finished. It's that last 20%, the recording, the mixing, the finalizing. It might as well be another 100%. It's the hardest thing. So anything that makes it easier, I'm all for it. So this is like nerd trance. I wouldn't call it the side trance, but getting something. So while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and just save, because if I forget to save, I'm going to be very unhappy. For some reason, I'm going to save this. Oops. Save this back to kit 1. This is my first program. Yep. Okay. This way, it's easy. I think there's a setting here too, and I might have it engaged that when I save pattern, it saves the kit as well. You got to be careful with that, because I'm kind of like blending the two things I just discussed. It's kind of like a halfway in between. So be careful. See? Oh no, did I do it? Oh no, I think I just lost the kit. Oh no. Oh wait. No. Close call. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what happened. Oh, actually, I think I do know what happened. Is the pattern was linked to kit 4. I saved the kit that we were making to kit 1, even though originally I was occupying kit 4, but I hadn't saved it to kit 4. When I went and reloaded the pattern, it pulled from kit 4 and pulled the wrong one, so now I reset it. Let's just go ahead and save this. See right there. Boom. Bank HO1, target, save. Okay. I think I need to listen to some more side trance to really hear what's going on with the bass, because that just sounds kind of silly. Doesn't sound tense to me. Okay, so that's our first pattern. So let's go ahead and select, and I'm going to go and save pattern 1, pattern 2. This should also keep kit 1, even though I'm on pattern 2. Like we talked about, they're separate. So here I'm on pattern 2. Okay, now we can kind of change it up a little bit. Go to our part. What are we going to change? We're just dealing with the pattern right now. Let's go with open hi-hats. Okay, first thing I'm going to do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the closed hi-hat pattern the way it is. And you can see, if I go back to it, every step is occupied. So if I'm going to go use open hat and say let's do something weird. 5 to 11, 13. No, 11, 14. Might be kind of weird, but let's hear what it sounds like right now. So, because we have already opened the pattern up, I can't do it again. I have to manually, boom, boom. What do I have? 2, 5, 11, 14. Boom, boom, doom, 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 doom. 11, 14. 2, 5, 11, 14. Okay. Now you'll hear open hat and the hi-hat. I'm sorry, the hi-hat, the open hat version and the closed hat version are playing at the same time. So I don't know I don't know many drummers who have 2 sets of hi-hats playing at the same time. I'm sure they exist. People do some weird stuff out there. Maybe they're playing with their foot. But the point is that generally you have one hi-hat, and if you have an open hi-hat, you're not going to have a closed hi-hat. Now we could go back to the closed hi-hat and remove any of these that are, any of the steps for open hi-hat. We go back to the closed and remove them to make space, but we can also make it a little bit easier. And the reason it's not just easy, that it actually helps quite a bit. I'll tell you why here when we get into percentages. So choke, group 1, open hi-hat, and we're going to give this one the highest priority. And then we'll go here, part 2, shift, choke, go, choke. 1, we'll give this low priority. Basically what we're saying is that whenever there is, whenever a step is activated by both of these, because they are in the same group, it will go to the higher priority step and it'll turn off the lower one. So we've set closed hi-hat as low, so any time that open hi-hat plays, it will look to the closed hi-hat track and it'll say, nope, you're done. And that will give us, it's such a fast thing, it's hard to hear. So for example, let's listen if I mute it. Yeah, you can't. I guess if I mute it, I wonder if it's muting it, it's actually taking away the triggering. So that's interesting. I was hoping it would just mute. Here, we can do it this way. Let me just go ahead and do open hi-hat. Hear it? Kind of nice, actually, just without the open hi-hat. But if I open this back up, I'm actually going to pan that too. Match up with the closed. 15. Okay, a little better. Kind of awful sounding, honestly, but let's see if I can. We need to change that sample. That sounds like. Oops. Go to live. Much better. Okay, so here's where that group and choke really comes in handy. Honestly, this is what really makes the whole thing the best. And the reason is because you get the probability function. So when you get into probabilities, say you want to have the hi-hat open hat sound on a probability of, say, 50%. You're not going to touch, for this example, we're not going to touch the closed hat. We're going to just leave it. But it's flying away at 16 steps per bar. And so basically everyone, and every time that the open hat plays, it's going to turn off the closed hat. The open hat is only set to do that with probability. So to program that without probability, without choke groups, would be very difficult, virtually impossible, because you wouldn't be able to use randomness. You wouldn't be able to say, I don't know when the open hat's going to play, other than I know it's going to play occasionally on these steps. So not knowing exactly when it's going to play means I want the machine to figure out when it does turn off the closed hat. So that's a really cool feature. So let's go ahead and go. Let me think here. It's not, okay, I think it's per step. So we are open hi-hat. Let's just try this one. Let's see. Offset. Oh yeah, probability right here. So how about we do 100% on the first one, and then these two we don't know. Let's see if I can hold those both down and get it. So let's say 50%. We'll just totally flip a coin. Cool. That's nice. Not every machine does that, but basically I held down both of those and made the adjustment, and it took both of those, accepted that. Page over. Okay, we're going to try and crank this down to 50% again. Boom, boom, 50%. You also have, so I've been calling this probability, which is what they do call it. I think they call the other one alternative. I think it's more, well, basically what this does, see what it says always, and you can see this little squares are starting to appear. And you can see it's doing a bunch of, interesting stuff. The idea here is if you are an Electron user, you're familiar with, say, 1 of 2 or 2 of 4 or 4 of 4. And the idea is like, say say you got a crash at the beginning of your pattern. Now that pattern's, say it's 64 steps long, and you do like the crash in the beginning of that, but say you're going to have that pattern play 3-4 times. You don't want that crash every single time after four bars, you know, because it would be repetitive. So what you could do is you could say, okay, let's just take this as an example. We'll pretend this is the crash on the first step. You hold it down and you say, okay, what I want to happen, white representing a positive hit, a trig, and the black squares representing an empty trig, meaning it's not going to happen, you would say right here. So the first time that you encounter this sound, this trig, this step, play it. The next 3 times, you skip it. So basically out of 4 times, you're playing it the first time, and then you're missing it the other 3. This comes in really handy when you're doing all sorts of things. You don't have to do just simplistic stuff like the crash. You can do some really fun stuff and some random stuff. Maybe we'll do that for the next pattern here. But the idea is really great, and by putting those in combination, you can get some generative based music, which is really fun, and you can use it subtly so that you just get some kind of nuance. You know, so your hi-hats maybe, you know, are crushing, but once in a time maybe you just skips one, or maybe you hit 2 in a row really hot, really fast, or you know, does this have retrig? I feel like in my head it does. Yes, it does. How do I do that? Let's see. Let's go first. Go to closed hi-hats. There. Where is it? I cannot think of where the trig is. Always, that's this guy. Our probability, not our offset. Well, I'll find it eventually. Let me see if it's maybe in this guy. Nope. Sync, part random, part clear. No. I don't remember. Maybe accent? Aha! Found it. Okay. They call it ratchet. And so, let's hear. Okay. What you can do in ratchet, not quite, sorry to say this all the time, it's not like a broken record, but Electron really nails it. There's a little different. It doesn't work the way in my head I would think it would work. But after getting used to it, it makes sense. Ratchet is saying, how many times do you want this sound to play in that one step? So off, meaning 1, boom, it's going to hit it. 2, it's going to play it twice. So if this is a 16th note, it's now become 2 30-second notes, 2 64th notes, and then if there is such a thing, 128ths. So no, I take that back. Actually, that would be 64. That would be 48ths. Yeah. Anyway, let's hear what this is. Hear that? So you don't get the cool stuff that I think that you get in the Electron one, where you can basically mask missing steps by having the retrig happening over a certain amount of time. I don't think that's possible in this, but you still get some fun little options here. What I would recommend doing is, let's see here, if we come to part open hi-hats, we know 5, 11, 14. Come back to the closed, we could say 5, 11. I can't grab 14 right now, but we'll do it in a second. I hold down accent. Oh, it's already in there. We can do ratchet. Let's just do 3. So now, if the open hi-hat doesn't play, because it is on a 50% chance, we will get a ratchet on the closed hat. If the open hi-hat does play, we won't hear anything from the closed hat for just that particular step. So, you know, let's go ahead and just expand that, because I kind of want to make that work a little bit better. So we'll do 5, we'll do 14 on this one. I'm going to do a super 64th note ratchet. Yeah, hear that? So this is kind of cool. have the ramp as well, and that means that basically when you're ratcheting, you're either going to decrease, or you're going to increase the velocity, or you just stay at the same velocity. For the hi-hats right now, the way it is, I'm just going to keep it the way it is, but we can go over to, say, the snare. Did I get all these? No, we have one more. 5 and 14, ratchet of 2. Okay. You know what, before I go to this, no, let's do the snare. Let's do the snare. Okay, part snare. See, I have a simple on the offbeat here, so watch this. If I go, oops, step mode, and here it's hitting twice. But what I'd rather do is, so basically I got 3 snare hits right there around each other. Now what that sounds like right now is just 3 bup equal hits, but what I want is to kind of have that nice little flam roll. So I'm going to go here to the first one, which is 4, and I'm going to decrease the accent all the way down to 8. I'm going to ratchet it to, let's try 3, just so we can hear it better. I'm going to do a rise ramp. So basically we're starting from 8 and we're rising up. I don't know how much we're rising up. We don't get that kind of control. You do get the electron sequencer, gives you much more control of that. But I'm assuming they're going to give us something. So maybe it'll triple. So it's going to go, there's going to be 3 hits in this one step. It's going to start at 8. I'm assuming it's going to go to 16 and then go to 24. Or it goes to 16 and then doubles again. So 16 to 32. That's what I'm thinking. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one first. Okay, let's hear it. Okay, I'm going to plug those around. Oops. Here we get here. Bring down the accent on that a little bit. Maybe actually bring them both down. So I'm going to take that one down to 17, this one down to like 40. I'm going to tighten the snare up a little. Okay. Let's just go ahead and do a few more. Maybe these guys down. Bring their accent down to about 23. No, 16. We're going to ratchet one of these to 2. Rise that. Oh, no, it's too full. I feel like I need something right here. We'll skip it for now. Let's do 3 and 9 on this one. Accent low. Ratchet to 4. Rise. Oh, let's do random. See, it happens so fast, it's not really giving us, you can't really hear the ratcheting. I really wish that I could say ratchet for 2 or 3 or 6 steps or whatever. Like, to me, that's what it's missing. You can program around that a bit though, right? So you could say if I wanted to happen for 1, 2, and 3 steps, I could start, let's do it. Let's go step 1, 2. Set our accent so that we just start low. Let's say we'll do 8. Then the 16. And this will be a 32. This is where I'm just not really sure. I'm just going to kind of do my best, but basically I don't know exactly how the random or the ramp is affecting everything. So if I knew, I'd be able to dial it perfectly. So if I knew this right here was ratcheting 2 times with a rising ramp at 8, I would think it would be 16 on the next one. So therefore I wouldn't want to be 16 on this. I'd rather be 20. Well, let's see, 8, yeah, 24. And then for this one, because that one's going to either double or add 8. So let's just guess and say add 8. So that would be 24 and 32. 2 ratchets with a rise. And then from 32 is already occupied, so I'll increase it by 8. 40 with a ratchet of 2 and a rise should theoretically take us from 8, so it'd be like 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. Let's see what we get. It's a little harder with the snare right now because it's a longer, meatier snare. But it's got some coolness to it. Okay, so I'm going to do a few more. Let's do, oops. See what this sounds like. Ba, 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 ba. Ba. Nope. Let's try it. I gotta sing in my head when it comes to drawing, making beats. There we go. Okay, now we have that. You can hear, you know, if I just played this over and over, it'd be repetitive, which is kind of sometimes the nature of electronic music. But you have those flourishes. If those become repetitive, then they just, in my opinion, kind of become a little annoying. So we're going to go back and we're going to start probability setting these. So if we go to, no, what am I doing? Step, hold it. Okay. So I'm going to do a mix. So I'm going to do 67% on this one. And on this one, I'm going to use the alternative, which is going to be 1 of every 3 times. And I'm going to do that for the same one. Meaning, when this goes by the first time, it will play these. But then it's going to go by a whole another time, you're not going to hear them. It's going to go by again another time, you're not going to hear it again. And then back again, top, it will play it again. So that's good for this pattern here, or this page. Let's do, these guys are going to be alters too, and I'm going to do these every other. So the first time we hear this, it's going to miss it. The second time, it will play it, both of those notes. This one is a little bit special, also going to be an alternative. I think that's what they're calling it. And this one, we're going to do a 2 of 4. So you can see 4, what am I looking for? 4 occurrences, but only the second occurrence will play. So it's going to go through the whole pattern. That's not going to play. Second time, it will play, but then it's going to play 3 and 4 and not play. All right. I'm going to leave these here. This one I'm going to convert to a percentage of 55. Okay, this is an ending to me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn these into alternates of the last of 4. 9, 13, 15, 16. Actually, I'm going to keep 15. Okay, 15 I'm going to do every other. Okay, so just to recap, 1, 4, 7, 9, 12, and 16 are not going to play at all until we get to the very last of 4 plays through the pattern. So it's going to go through 64 steps, not going to hear anything but good old 5 and 13. Going to go again, not going to hear anything but 5 and 13 and 15, because if you remember I set that one to every other. Then it's going to do that again, only 5 and 13, and then the last time it's going to play them all. Let's hear what it sounds like. Cool. And that to me is like, that's a perfect time to switch to your next pattern, which we are going to do. I'm going to save this. I'm going to tell you right now, save as much as you can with this thing, because all it takes is if I were to switch to a new pattern. If I were just to go, cool, I like how that pattern sounds, and then I go to pattern 1, boom, gone. So, you know, just keep in mind that you got to pay attention, and you definitely do not want to lose your work. So okay, here's something else I want to talk about in this machine, which is a cool thing, I have to admit, and it is possible on other drum machines, but I like the way they implemented it, although I wish it could be reverse. And what I mean by that is cueing a pattern. So right now, if I push play, I'm on pattern 2. If I hit the select button and hit pattern 1, which might already been. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was on pattern 1. Watch this. You go right to pattern 2. It didn't wait till the sound finished. Back to 1, 2. Pattern 1, pattern 2. This is very cool when you're doing, especially certain kinds of music where you just want to be able to switch patterns freely. You know, maybe that's the way you're building your set, so that maybe you keep maybe really complicated or really busy fill patterns at the end, and you can just quickly jump into them. It keeps the beat going. It stays, you know, in terms of, you know, step 7 or step 8, it's going to be there on step 8. The next time you switch to a pattern, it's going to go to step 9. You can switch to pattern. It's going to keep the pattern moving in the same position that it was, but you can change the sounds or the patterns themselves overall. Very cool. The only problem is if you don't want to do that, if you want on the cue, which is kind of more the standard way, you have to actually hold shift and click select, and now then it switches as it gets to the end of that. Obviously very cool feature and very handy. I just wish I could reverse it, because I find myself more wanting to cue and have the freedom to like affect things while it's queuing up to the next pattern. But you just have to remember that you have to engage it so it's blinking like that. So cue. It will stay that way, which is nice. Then you hit select again and it turns off. Now watch. Oh, it wasn't going until I was actually hitting select. Oh no, it did. Okay. So that's cool, and you know, you get used to it and it makes sense. But honestly, it did throw me off a little bit at first, because I kept forgetting when I was actually in cue and when it was staying, and it was just a little bit of a pain in the butt. I wish it was the other way around, but I can make do. Alright. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to select this pattern. We're going to save it. We're going to save it to step 3, pattern 3. As you can see, we are still using the same kit. So that's good, because we don't have to change anything for this new sound, and we don't have to worry about making a change and then it not being represented elsewhere. Ironically, we do have to worry about making a change and it being represented elsewhere if that's not what we want. Anyway, we do right now. So okay, so that's pattern 3, and here, same exact pattern. So now we need to change it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of simplify things, and I'm going to do that by first going into the parts I know I'm not really concerned about keeping. So for example, sample 1, hold shift, and we're looking for clear part. So if you know you're going to clear it all, you might as well just hit clear all. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. That clears everything. Sorry, clear part. That clears the motion data, and then if you go to clear pattern, then it clears the steps. You kind of have to do both, because if you only clear the pattern data, then you potentially could have something in the motion data still there. I don't think it's going to affect anything because you won't have any sounds, but it's going to eat up that CPU. You want to make sure if you're done with that, you're like, I'm on a new pattern, I just want to erase all that stuff. Do both. Now we can't hear it. So now we're going to go over to clean up the hats. Actually, we're going to clean up the snare first. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy, get rid of that guy. We're going to just do a good old-fashioned standard pattern. The 5 and the 13, the 2 and the 4, if you will. Back, let's see if there is any motion data. Nope, so we don't have to worry about that. Now let's go to parts for the closed hats. That's interesting. Why is it like this? Am I in the motion? I'm in the motion. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just clear these because it's going to be a little easier. So I'm going to clear the motion, clear parts, clear the pattern. The glare is kind of making it hard to see. Okay. Yeah, we don't want any open hat at all right there for now. Open hi-hat, back step. Let's just go ahead and clear this too. I'm going to rebuild something here. Just be a little easier to clear. So parts. Go ahead and clear the motion, which we did. No steps. Okay. Okay. I think we can just leave it like that because I was thinking about putting a crash, but I think since we're going to have this open hi-hat railing on the downbeat. Okay. Let's clean up that rim shot. Boom. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this all out together too. So clear parts, clear part motion. That is gone. Oops. So let's go ahead and save this kit. Now I'm going to save the same kit, kit 2. And I'm going to make sure this program using kit 2. I'm going to change the rim shot. And I don't want to affect what it sounds like in kit 1. Uh-oh, what happened there? I just did something. There we go. All right, let's get rid of that. Oh, did I? Dang it! I reloaded the pattern on accident, which brought back all the stuff I just erased. So, gotta do that again. Okay, let's see if I can do this quicker this time. All right, snare, steps. Let's go ahead and just actually erase everything, because it'll be quicker to rebuild it. Replace motion, clear the parts, go back to step, and we're at 5 and 13. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, part closed hi-hats. We can erase all of this. So we're gonna shift, clear the motion, clear steps, and part for overheads. Open hi-hats, shift, clear parts, clear parts. Okay. I guess I did not clear the part of the snare, which is weird. I totally did. No, I guess I didn't. I don't know. So let's just clear that. Clear that. I can really leave the snare out. Okay. Save. What pattern are we on now? We are not. Oh no, did I go to 2? This is what happens. Okay, well, we're gonna save it to 4. I don't know what happened there. Save it to 4. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to 2. Get 1. Get 1 still. Still at get 1. Okay, let's figure that out. Okay, let's see here. Okay, save that. Okay. Okay, so now I just saved the kit to this pattern. This should work. So let's just go ahead and look. I'm on pattern 1, kit 1. Pattern 2, kit 1. Pattern 3, kit 1. Ah! Oh, select, then select this, then save that. Okay. Let's see if I managed to do this right this time. So if we're on program 1, kit 1. Program 3 switches over to kit 3. Okay. Or kit 2, I'm sorry. Okay, we're good now. So if I go to here and I want to start messing around with that rim shot again. And let's go. Oops. Yes, it's okay. Let's see. Okay. Save it. Save it. Okay. Now let's try a little chain. I go select. So this is where it's interesting. When you're in chain, you're actually using these to select which slot you're using the chain of. So now we're in chain 2. I'm going to do, oops, this guy, and then chain 3, program 3. Okay, let's see what we got. Pattern 1, let's go to pattern 2. Kept it on pattern 3 there. Cool. It's not quite a song, but it's something. Yeah, and I think what I'll do next time with this guy when I bust it out is I'll spend less time talking about it and more time just like writing the song. I like the idea of making beats, and that being the focus instead of just going over all the like kind of tutorial aspects of this. But what I'd also like to do is start finding guides for particular drum beats. You know, I see things like UK Garage, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So maybe I should know what that means since I like this kind of music and I would like to be able to identify stuff just because it's interesting. So what I should have probably done today is actually pulled up a guide to make psytrance. But I knew I was going to be lost more in the kind of concept of the machine. That's what I really wanted to focus on. And, you know, I wasn't going to be able to spend too much time on making a particular kind of track. So that'll be something I'd like to do next time. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with this channel entirely. I'm trying to figure out if it's more interesting for people to be kind of walk through creating sounds and patches, or if it's more interesting to watch me make music. I don't really know, you know, or design or compose songs. So I'm trying to feel it out still. But in my mind, what I think would be most fun would be to songs and to hopefully have some input on those songs from people, chat and stuff like that. So that's what I'm pursuing right now. But that may change. So yeah. Anyways, it's about 9:30. I had a lot of fun with this guy tonight, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take this song, kind of a song, this beat, and I'll probably work on it for a few days, and I'll see if I can maybe put out something simple song with it here soon. I do want to mention, I should probably put this more on the channel in general. It's gonna look like I'm scaling back for a little bit. My goal is just to December. I'm gonna continue to stream every Tuesday. Maybe not the Tuesday around Christmas, because I'm not really sure what day Christmas lands on, but I'm definitely not streaming on Christmas or Christmas Eve. That's family time. But what I'd like to do is just focus on the streaming, you know, in terms of visibility. And on the back end, I'm going to be working on a few things. I'm working on a shop where I'm going to start having samples and stuff that I've been creating for years that have just been kind of sitting after I use them. I'm going to work on some ways to maybe bring more value for folks who actually join these streams. Maybe, you know, like I had mentioned before, using ToneVerk to capture some multi-samples and also my MPC Live and maybe share those. Yeah, so some other ways to like just kind of engage with folks and offer some more value with you watching my streams and also just checking my music out. But mainly what I really want to get back into, which I started doing, but then I kind of got really busy and trying to grow this channel, I want to start releasing properly mixed final-ish music. My goal would be to take, I mean, I'm not kidding, I got hundreds of songs, it's kind of crazy. Take those songs, finish them up, polish them up, mix and master them myself in my own studio and put them up on things like Spotify. Well, I kind of hate Spotify, but I know people love it and they use it, and I'm probably going to put it on Spotify, but like Apple Music and other places, and maybe even Bandcamp. Maybe people would like to buy it, which would be really nice. With the end goal being, if I'm able to raise money from those, to then actually have the songs properly, professionally mixed by somebody who does that for a living, and then also somebody who does mastering for a living. Real opportunity to be competitive in terms of quality for other stuff that's what I really want to do, because that's what I love to do. I love to compose music. Now, I love doing this stuff too, but I have had to give up the act of composing and really kind of finalizing the tunes to make space and time for this. But I'm getting the hang of it better. I'm getting things kind of dialed in. And yeah, so point being, I'm probably going to scale back a little bit from what you can see. Rest assured, I'll be busting my butt in the back end, and I hope to come back even stronger in 2026. So enjoy the streams for the next month, and please let me know anything you'd like to see in particular, if that's the case. But also, just be ready. I'm going to expand, and I'm going to make some new fun stuff. And I've got a few other ideas I didn't even share yet that I think are basically just want to be doing music more often, and hopefully build a bigger fan base that might make it a little more possible to do this as what I do. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Even if you popped in for a minute, I appreciate that too. Please, as usual, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And no one joined tonight, which is totally fine. But if you ever feel inclined to pop in and say, hey, I like what you're doing there, but maybe you should open the filter up on that a little bit, or what would it sound like if you did this, or can you explain to me how the attack stage on a envelope works? Anything, just ask, please. Anyways, I love it. I hope you all enjoyed it too. Have a great night, and I'll see you definitely next week.